Tommy Bowe, he's just headed away. He's going to he's getting an X-ray. I think with Connor, he got a stinger. The shoulder was getting better all the time, and through the half-time period, it improved sufficiently that he felt that he was okay to go. And so we said, look, try it, see how it goes. And he felt that he probably could have played on, but we felt that you've probably seen how sharp his pass normally is. It wasn't as good as it normally is, and he probably had a little bit of probably a 15 to 20% deficiency in his pass. And so we said, look, we're better off just to get you off, look after you, and we'll get Kieran Marmion out there. So he was keen to try and see how he went in the second half, because it was improving all the time and improved through the halftime break.
What was the losing for that match?
The fine margins. I think the yellow card was crucial. 10 points in 10 minutes. It's I feel a bit sorry for Johnny. He's trapped in by 3 players, and it's very hard to get out. But when that happens close to the line, that's sometimes what happens. Penalty count of 10-4, and we copy yellow card. It's tough, but we know in that area it's always a risk. I think Wales were pretty clever in what they did, and they played some really good stuff, and it made it a real challenge for us. So, the fine margins that I mentioned, obviously the line-out drive at 15-9, if we score that and convert, it's in around the 15-metre mark. You'd expect to convert it. You go 1 point ahead, and suddenly they're chasing the game, not us. Charge down, the ball slips through the fingers of Tig, and I thought he might have gone close to scoring. And even in the first half, I felt they were probably a bit lucky when CJ went up the left-hand touch, and we were looking for fast ball, and we got the penalty advantage, but that was it, So they are all very fine margins, and you've got to get the fine margins on your side when you're playing a Welsh side as good as they are, as desperate as they are. And I thought they played really well. Their set piece was really strong. Their defence is always strong. They attacked well, especially when Johnny went off to get checked out. They went straight through around his area, and I think it's something that we'll learn from. And the guys who came into the game, I think at least it's a really good opportunity for Kieran Marmion in a test match of that magnitude. I thought did really well. Paddy Jackson came on for Johnny and kicked that crucial goal to put us back up 6-5, and did some pretty good things when he came on later in the game. Almost slipped through a couple of times. So, you can wallow in your own self-pity, or you can try to build from this. And with what we've got coming up next week, we can't afford to wallow for too long. It's still a huge opportunity for us. We can still finish in the top half of the Six Nations, and that's still something that's incredibly important to us, and that's what we've got to turn the page to now. Unfortunately, it means that we are no longer in the hunt to win the championship.
Joe, how frustrating was it, despite all the possession and territory you did have, to in that second half you weren't able to penetrate that well?
Yeah, I think the stats were maybe 52, 54%. So it's probably not as swayed as all that, but it was incredibly frustrating. It's hugely frustrating when you get over the line and you get the ball down, and a player who probably didn't have a massive material effect gets sanctioned appropriately because he made an error, And again, he's a young player who was super in the game. I thought he had a super game. But you learn from those experiences, and that was incredibly disappointing. As I mentioned earlier, we got into the 22, and the ball tended to slow down, and it became very, very hard work. We got a few penalty advantages and penalties, but at that stage we got them reasonably wide out. We went after the line out. We lost one of them. We played away off the scrum when we were told to use it. I felt the scrum was starting to go forward, and we weren't accurate enough. There was some really good defence off the line from Jamie Roberts, and he's a big man who hits hard, and he dislodged the ball, and again we made the error.
Joe, has the team taken a step back since November?
No, I don't think so. I think there's incredible intensity in this tournament. The championship is always incredibly tight. November you get to play at home mostly, and you know, I guess as frustrating as it is, I still think there were some really positive things that we did tonight. I thought our line speed in the first 20 minutes put them under real pressure and created opportunities for us. And as I said before, I felt we were probably a bit unlucky not to get something more from them when we did get them behind them. But you know, it is incredibly frustrating that you get so close to the line and even get over it and get the ball down, but you don't quite get the reward for it. So they're the fine margins. And some days it's just hard to buy a trick. And you know, again, the big Welsh backs, as soon as we got the yellow card, they were very, very hard to contain. And they got that lead. And once you've got that lead and they got out to 15-6, then they know we've got to chase the game. But having said that, I felt we chased it well enough that had we got the try that we got down over the line or got incredibly close to with the scrum close to the line and the charge down close to the line, you know, that's unfortunately part of professional sport. We have to take that on the chin, and as I said, we can't afford to wallow in our own self-pity. We've got to turn that around and try to make sure that we convert it into something positive for next week.
Rory, there's been a huge amount of talk about consistency on this side for the last year, 18 months. South Africa, you win, then lose two, beat New Zealand, lose, beat Australia, then lose in Scotland, beat France last week and lose here. How frustrating is that for the players? And I mean, how much can we read into this goal of consistency if they're kind of up and down results that are been?
Look, it's obviously hugely frustrating to lose those couple of games, but I think the difference now is that, you know, when we talked about consistency maybe 4 or 5 years ago, it was really good performance, really poor performance, really good performance, really. Whereas, you know, we've got a reasonable level of consistency, and we just make a couple of on our slightly off days, we just make a couple of silly unforced errors, which at this level are massive. You know, we had a few opportunities to score there, and we either didn't convert them through, for example, the maul try, or else simple knock-ons that, you know, and they cost you dearly. So look, in terms of consistency, we always strive to be better, and we always try to win the next moment. But I think in terms of overall performances, we do get a reasonable level. It's just those silly little mental errors.
Or what's going on with the Lineout?
In terms of
Just the way they drop the lines and be able to get at you.
yeah, look, they just obviously the one on the line that they just read it. We tried to sneak Shawnee in there, and Alman Jones came through and over the top, and then just a couple of the ones going backwards that Alman Jones was chasing hard over the top of it, and look, they're a good defensive line out, and look, we'll be disappointed to have lost those couple. But they sort of moved a bit and guessed a bit, and we kind of moved to where they guessed to be. And I think when a team is rushing forward and trying to guess on you, sometimes you call the move as they're moving forward, and it's hard. You sort of nearly wish you could wait a second, but you can't either. So look, we had some good liners, but look, those couple that we lost, we obviously disappointed with, especially the one 5 metres out.
So you ended New Zealand's winning run. If you've got the opportunity to do the same with England, is that going to be sort of motivated and get the best out of the team again?
Yeah, again, we haven't really turned our attention to England. We've got too much respect for the quality of the Welsh side, and we knew how under pressure they were, you know, and when you're under pressure and you're at home and you need to deliver, that was our full focus. Now we will turn the page, and I think for us it's about the championship. It's not about somebody else's record. It's about our performance. It's about what we want to try to get out of the championship. And we're still a chance to finish in the top half. And you finish in the top half of a championship which has France playing well, Scotland playing well, Wales bouncing back today, and England obviously playing really well. It's so competitive. And I think right from the start, when we first chatted about the championship about 7 weeks ago, I felt it was going to be the most competitive championship. And even though we're talking about England scrambled out of here with a very narrow win themselves, and they scrambled to a narrow enough win over France as well. I've no doubt Scotland will go there with some real desire and a really good plan to try to undo them tomorrow. At the same time, England are looking stronger week by week as they get guys back from injury, and to have some of the guys they've got coming off the bench tomorrow is probably the envy of most teams.
Joe, would you be predictable in attack, or would you predictable in attack, or tonight?
In what way?
Well, I guess some of the margins tonight just didn't go away when we needed them to. The ball, for example, lose the line out as Rory was saying 5 metres out, but we did seem to try and bulldoze our way through for much of that second half. Is it just down to the Welsh defence, or do we need a little more variation within 10 metres of the opponent's line?
Yeah, it's funny you say that, Dave. I mean, in the end, you're always looking for variation. We had 7 line breaks each. A lot of the stats are very, very even. Unfortunately, probably the one that favours us is 10-4 penalty count, and the one that favours them is 22-9 result. And so I think for us, we'll look at the performance more than the result and say, in the performance, the 7 line breaks we did make, how did we create those? Did we play with width? I don't think anyone could say that we didn't play with width. I think at times in the 22, some of the ball was very slow. It makes it very hard, particularly once you get into the 22 and you get slowed down. I think there was a period where we were playing quite close, and we picked up our third penalty in about a 5 minute period, 5 metres out from the line. That's when we went back to the line out, and or we actually went and took the 3 points, but we'd gone back to the line out before that. And when you don't convert those, it is very tough, and it starts to, I think for players, they start to feel pressure themselves, and they start to get a little bit tense and potentially don't play with the same freedom. But looking across the stats in the game, it's actually incredibly even across the board, as I say, apart from those 2 stats.
In those small moments, did you feel Ireland were refereed in the same way that Wales were at the other? Yeah,
look, I'm certainly not going to express frustration with the refereeing. Wayne Barnes is one of the best refs in world rugby, and when he makes a decision, that's the decision. And you can't fault his decision on Robbie entering the maul. We know that's the law, and that's how it is. You're always going to have frustrations. We felt that there were probably a few neck rolls out there that were pretty visible, and again, I don't think Wayne can pick all those up. There's so much happening. That game, for me, I don't know for you people watching, but it seemed incredibly frenetic at times. It was going at 100 miles an hour, and then when it got into the 22s, it started to chug at 2 or 3 miles an hour. So, it is very difficult once you get close to then construct enough to get over, and that's why it was most frustrating when we did get over to get penalised accurately by Wayne, and then just to have a couple of balls slip through our fingers where players will be disappointed with that.
Joe, do you expect England to win the title tomorrow?
I don't really form any opinions on them. I'll certainly be watching because they're our next opponent. I think it'll be another fantastic game. I don't think too many of the crowd who are here today, Irish or Welsh, would go away too disappointed with the endeavour, with the movement, with the intensity of, I thought, what was an incredible test match, as disappointing as it is not to win it. And I don't think people at Twickenham tomorrow will be disappointed either.
Joe, you said in advance that if you were to go into the last weekend and not be a title decider, there might be a bit of a shine going on, but there won't be any lack of motivation.
I don't think so. You know, as I said, we're focused on trying to finish as best we can in the championship. We're focused less on what our opponents can achieve. We just need to achieve something ourselves, and so we'll go out with some real endeavour as we did tonight. And again, you know, I did really feel that our first 15 minutes we put them under some huge pressure and got very close to scoring. Unfortunately, you know, we lost Johnny and lost a little bit of leadership, and you don't need to give Scott Williams too many invitations to break the line. He hit a nice line on a good change up, and we weren't quite connected. But it was very tough for Paddy just coming on to suddenly slot straight into that. But I mean, again, that's a learning experience, and I honestly think that, you know, you can profit from that further down the line, and that's a challenge for us. We have to make sure that's what the case is.
Joe, we wish to talk of this Welsh team being in decline a little premature.
Sorry, yeah. Yeah, look, I think certainly all week and yesterday in the press conference, that's what we were saying. You know, we know they're a quality side. You look at the team they put out, and you look at their performance against England here, the first half against Scotland. You know, look, they're quality players. We know them from playing week in, week out in the Pro 12 against them. So look, we weren't saying that there was any kind of demise at all. You know, we knew this was going to be a really, really tough test match, and look, that's the way it proved to be. And Joe said we also knew it was going to come down to the fine margins. We hoped that we would get enough going our way, and we didn't. You know, we're disappointed with how we made a few individual errors, but at the same time they put a lot of pressure on us because they're a quality side.
Peter, finish it in.
Joe, you consider making changes to your team for next weekend, or do you view it as the strongest?
I don't think that any time immediately after a test match you make those assessments. Obviously I'll go back and have a look at the game. The other coaches will go back and have a look at the game, and we'll get together on tomorrow morning after having looked at the game, and we'll try to make sure that the first and foremost we get the players well recovered and in the right frame of mind to start another week's preparation, because, you know, I think it's incredibly disappointing for the players. They have put a heck of a lot of effort out onto the pitch tonight, and when you don't get reward for that effort, it's fairly demoralising. So you certainly don't start talking about changes. You know, that was probably one of the things about the Welsh people talking about making changes. You know, I thought a few of the best players tonight were the players that some conjecture was suggesting they should change. You know, I don't think any coach immediately after a game has a knee-jerk reaction that is going to suddenly make changes, or his coaching group are going to make changes. They take some time, 48 hours, see how guys turn out for training, and then build toward the later part of the week, and by Thursday you've got a pretty good idea about who's fully fit, and B, you know, who's in the best frame of mind to really take on the challenge that will be immense for us next weekend.
Okay guys, we'll leave it there.